Hello, everybody. I'm Bryan Grossman, executive editor here at 6035 Magazine. This is the 6035, the weekly show that recaps everything you need to know in the news. Our guests in studio today are podcast guru Dave Gardner and managing editor Helen Lewis. And we're talking about the latest. Welcome to the studio, Dave.
It's nice to be on this side of the mic for a change.
You've never been here before, have you, in this room? I was just saying we should probably set up a cot somewhere because we've spent quite a few minutes, at least lately, in this closet.
Yeah, that's a situation we want to avoid, but it
putting up
feels
a cot
like that. Yeah, the being where you need that.
Yeah,
but it's election season, so we're in here a lot.
Right, and I do want to talk about that. But before we get to election season, maybe talk about what you do here.
Glad to do that. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And your title is podcast guru, right?
Gosh, I think the business cards just got ordered. It's too late to change it today.
Okay.
Executive producer of podcasts. And so my job is to be kind of the visionary leader of that front and a technical advisor for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm a podcast lover and worked in radio and I've produced and hosted a number of podcasts. So I was probably a good fit. Yeah. And my vision, my reason for being right now is to bring all the good things that are being done by 6035 Media into the podcast world, mm-hmm. because I think there are a lot of people out there who will better discover us there,
sure.
who might not ever pick up a newspaper or even read a 500-word story on a smartphone.
Right. And you were in podcasting before you joined up with 6035. You had your own thing going on. Talk about sort of the podcasting scene here in the Springs and how you were a part of that and some of the shows that maybe people don't know about.
Yeah, thanks. I started a collective called Studio 809 Podcasts, which was it's about a dozen, about to grow to 14, I think, local podcasts originating here in town, but mostly focused on an audience that's here in town. Mm-hmm. And I never earned a living running that little collective, but it was just a labor of love because I really think that it's good for the community to have that kind of information and engagement. The citizens, we can all stand to be better informed and better engaged. So we got a great set of podcasters, a bicycling podcast, Bob Falcone, Hiking Bob, does Outdoors with Hiking Bob.
Right. What's the cycling one?
It's called Pedal the Springs, and Tori Giffen, who's the owner of Buffalo Lodge, hosts that. And it's crazy when she brings, she comes into the studio and brings all kinds of refreshments and the most fascinating people. And
we're falling down. We bring no refreshments.
No refreshments.
Yeah, you guys really need to get your act together. Yeah. So for about, and it all started with two city councilors, Jan Martin and Jill Gabler.
Yeah.
They were the first podcasters that helped me start Studio 809, and I wish they were still podcasting.
When did you start it?
I think it was 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so kind of at the forefront.
Well,
I mean, it feels like
forefront in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, in Colorado Springs.
Right.
It's hard to believe that podcasts have been around since like 2004, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we started paying attention.
Yeah.
Forefront of that.
So did you, Helen, listen to podcasts before you knew about Dave Gardner? Local podcasts?
No. Honestly, not local podcasts. Mm-hmm. No, and I think I was very late. You know me. I'm a late adopter.
I thought I was a late adopter.
So are you both podcast listeners today?
Go ahead.
Yes. I am, but I'm very patchy.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of, if I'm up at midnight persuading myself to go to sleep or if I'm in the gym or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not like sitting, who sits still to listen to a podcast?
I don't know.
No. So,
Somebody from the 1930s, I
suppose. With a pipe. Yeah. What about you?
No.
At all?
I'm not.
Not at all?
No, so way back, and I'm almost ashamed to say it, I did listen to a little Joe Rogan at the start of his podcasting career because I thought it was amazing that I will give Joe props in that he was really good about bringing a variety of guests on and allowing them to just talk. There were shows that were from 2 to 4 hours long of really smart people. I know DeGrasse Tyson was on his show. There was an epidemiologist when COVID first came out who had really sort of he saw what was coming, and it was one of the only places early on where I heard somebody say, look, this COVID thing is nasty. It's going to be a big deal. And that was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Joe didn't listen to that at all.
Well, probably not. I mean, Joe's an idiot, but he had really good. Joe, if you're listening, you're kind of an idiot.
If you don't want to put up with him, Armchair Expert.
Right. Oh, is that a good one?
Dax Shepard
interviews
really neat people, and he's a lot easier to listen to.
Well, and I got into Joe because I did martial arts for a long time, and Joe was involved with that. So there was, I liked being able to listen to martial artists and then stand-up comedians and then Neil deGrasse Tyson and then an epidemic. So it was really cool that there was, it ran the gamut. But I'm not much of a podcast guy. If it's audio, I tend to listen to music, or I'll just watch TV or read. But,
I see that.
Well, you're really busy. I mean, you're running, you're really, our head news guy here. And we've been quite busy.
Everybody's busy. But yeah.
And I think podcasts are really well designed for people who are as busy as you.
Yeah.
And you also have a pretty long commute to come into town.
I do. And I'm weird in that sense, too, in that I don't listen to anything in my car, not even music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you could be listening to podcasts.
I could be.
Yeah.
I know a guy who sorts overnight in a UPS sorting facility, and he listens. So 5 nights a week, he's listening to 8 hours of podcasts. He's like the smartest guy in the world as a result.
Yeah.
But that's the cool thing about podcasts is you don't have to stop what you're doing. You can be commuting, cooking, gardening, cleaning house.
Yeah, I do like that. It is a very like midnight in the gym kind of thing.
Midnight in the gym. I don't know what either of those things are.
Sometimes those happen together. I was meaning midnight and the gym, but sometimes.
Sometimes midnight at the gym.
Shoveling snow.
Yes. I don't have a driveway. We do shovel snow up where I live. We have walkways, and we do have to shovel sometimes.
You probably got a snowcat like Jeremy Renner.
I don't, and hopefully I'd be a little better at driving it. We don't have a snowcat. I do shovel snow at times. The working and podcast thing would be really hard because I can't listen to people talk while I'm reading content.
No, that's not possible.
It would be a disaster.
No,
so I can listen to music.
I can't even listen to music.
And it's got to be certain kinds of music.
Okay. Maybe I need more tattooed folk singers in my editing life.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting you read and listen.
No.
But shovel snow and listen. Or
shovel snow and listen.
Cook and listen.
Right. I could do those things.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on music. I'm a music guy.
This is going to seem like an invitation for everybody to tell you exactly what podcast you should listen to, because my mind is always going already.
That's
Here's
one of my questions.
5 I'm going to send you to.
I want to know, what are you guys listening to?
I have been listening to some from Australia, which might be of more limited interest to anyone else, but they are run by the Australian newspaper.
Oh, okay. The one paper in Australia?
Yeah, that's how it works. But the Hedley Thomas works at the Australian, but he's the guy, and he's had a couple of podcasts that have actually one I think I mentioned to you made tremendous. Well, basically closed down the forensic labs in Queensland because of the corruption and corruption was at the heart of it, but all of these cases that they absolutely now have to reopen because all the forensic evidence was not done correctly. That's understating it massively. So that was one of his that didn't even start out to expose that, and that ended up happening. He's had another one that has that reopened a decades-old murder case, and I don't want to do a spoiler. Anyway, those are really worth listening to.
What's it called?
One is called The Teacher's Pet. And then it's the other one is called Shandy's Story. And then there's another one that follows on from that called Shandy's Legacy. I will send you the links to them, but they're really good. It's amazing journalism and over months and years. And I listened to Pod Save America, which I think I've sent you before, but you obviously ignored me, so that's fine.
That's right, I did. I don't recall that. What is Pod Save America? Who does that one?
I'm going to blank on all the names right now, but it does go into every week what's going on in politics, and they're from the Obama administration and that era. But
I think one of them was a speechwriter for Barack Obama.
Oh, okay.
And,
I keep forgetting to listen to that one.
Yeah, I can't believe that I'm blanking on all the names right now. But anyway, I'll send that to you. It's fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
I was actually a guest on a podcast in Australia that the ABC Australia did. I went into their studios in Sydney.
When was this?
Back in 2012.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was down there for the Australian premiere of a documentary I produced. And
Dave, there is so much I don't know about you.
yeah, you didn't know I was a world-famous filmmaker. But my current favorite podcast, I actually opened Apple Podcast. And Nick, can you even see that?
Hang on.
I mean, I love this one. I love it.
Okay.
Love it.
What
is it?
The 6035 Podcast Network.
Never heard of it.
That's a problem.
Did Helen send that to me too, and I ignored it?
You know, if you really love what we do here, which is kind of a follow-on to loving what the Colorado Springs Independent did for almost 30 years, and I count myself in that department, you can just follow the 6035 Podcast Network, and all of our podcasts show up in this one feed. So you don't have to follow the 6035. You know, if you only like the 6035, then follow that.
Definitely follow it.
That's actually very handy because it can be very hard to keep organized with your podcasts.
Yeah.
So
whoever's idea this was brilliant.
I can't imagine who that was.
Which is a good segue. This is, a 15-minute show. We could talk for hours and hours, but we have spent a lot of time in this room over the past couple days. Will you tell our listeners why and why they should care?
Yeah, it's actually one of our new podcasts that we'll be launching probably around March 1st called 6035 Vote. And it will, during election season, it will be a great way for voters to really be engaged and learn about the choices that they have to make, the candidates, if there's the issues. And I'm really working hard on that because, as you know, the Colorado Springs Independent has this long history and tradition of being a really good resource. People would fill out their ballot. They would have the voter's guide
absolutely
open. And, because we're nonprofit now, we can't endorse candidates, but we can still give our followers, listeners, readers.
Still grill them, right?
Yeah, we can give them a chance to get to know the candidates. So we're sitting in this studio interviewing every candidate for city council and mayor, and I got to tip my hat to you, Bryan. That's a lot of time in the studio.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
That's all right. It's I enjoy doing it, and it's nice to talk to people who want to be engaged with the city and have ideas. Not all of the ideas are good ones, but but all the candidates do care. At least the ones we've talked to so far, we could say that. So
I think the 6035 is one of the funniest podcasts. You are always so entertaining in these podcasts. I wish you could do that in 6035 Vote, but I know you can't.
No, I keep a straight face.
Yeah. But we're already recording these episodes, but we're saving them all up so that because we don't want to give one candidate a couple extra weeks of listenership. So,
and we're looking at about in total, and I know Helen might jump in and help out with some of those too.
Yeah.
I think 24 total candidates, if I'm right. 11.
People will have to binge this, and actually, they can. The podcast is a really good idea, actually, because then endorsements, you're still limited by space, and so people hear sort of an end result and some pros and cons and things, but when they can actually hear the candidates talking and answering the hard questions, that's such a good idea. There's advantages in this. Yeah.
And you can binge it. They'll be waiting, and you can listen to them all at once.
There'll be plenty altogether.
Yeah, instead of listening to the Rolling Stones on your way into work.
Listen to both, same time.
Or David Crosby.
A mashup. Yeah. R.I.P. Anything else, Dave, that we should know about podcasts?
Well, I hope we can fit it in because I really did want to say a few words about Indefinity.
Yep.
Thank you for the great title.
Which is a horse.
Yep. Turned out it was a quarter horse a decade ago, but Bryan didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
But Indefinity was originally an all-day live stream event that we did back in mid-December, celebrating 30 years of indie history and previewing what was coming up with 6035. Right. Well, we had a lot of people in the studio who were involved in the startup and the history along the way, plus civic leaders who are fans of it. And, you can go to YouTube today and watch all 6.5 hours of it, but boy, talk about having to have time for that binge. So we're taking each little studio session and turning it into an episode of Infinity. So each episode's 10 to 15 minutes long. And I want to give a shout out to Nick, who is not at the table. He's over there running the control room for us. But Nick was my partner in crime, co-producing Infinity, and he's our resident fellow podcast expert. So I'm really enjoying working with Nick.
So I went and looked at a brochure for podcasting, and I'm like, I think this is the future. So let me go and join.
Brochures are the future?
It was more of a pamphlet.
Okay.
And
I don't know the difference really, but that's another show.
It was either podcasting or Bitcoin.
Yeah, and Bitcoin, man, that was so attractive. Everyone was iced on that. Yeah. I gave it a minute, and podcasting turned out for the better.
Yeah. So we've released 4 episodes so far of Infinity, and you really need, everyone who works here needs to go listen to it because it captures the magic that we had here.
Yeah.
And I think we have magic here today, but we're in the middle of it. So it's kind of like
hard
water.
to feel the magic when you're in it. Yeah.
You don't even notice. You don't notice the water when you're a fish swimming in it.
Right.
But the first episode was John Weiss and Terry Homick and Richard Scorman and Catherine Eastburn.
The OGs.
And everyone in those first 4 episodes said beautiful, really, really articulated really well what this is all about. So can't recommend that highly enough.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you pointed out Nick, since we are talking about podcasts. We couldn't do it without Nick.
Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and he produces and hosts Hot Takes and Streaming Breaks. Which is an altogether out of this world experience.
I heard a huff though. I heard Hot Takes and Streaming Breaks, and then
I think I did the because
I was thinking it might be more for the young at heart, maybe.
Yes, I think so. But it's pop culture every other week. We get it out, and we just did Avatar 2.
Oh yeah,
the Way of Water.
Yeah.
So
I want to listen to that.
Yeah,
I heard there's spoilers in it. Is that right?
It's a spoiler cast.
There you
go. But depending on how much you care. I mean, it's okay. It's James Cameron, all right? This is not some literary masterpiece, spoiler, M. Night Shyamalan kind of stuff here, okay?
Yeah, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we know what's going to happen. And we also cover news and stuff like that, going in pop culture, tech, all that, social network, everything.
And you get to see Nick's face. You get to see Nick's face.
You do.
Which you don't
more
get to
often.
see right now.
And
you
Nick,
do now.
And
they get to see your face now.
They are looking
Nick
at it, for better or worse.
He sits there at the table. He hosts the podcast. He runs the audio mix, and he switches the video all at once. The guy, clearly he's under 40.
Yeah.
Very, very talented, a great multi.
I don't know what half those words mean. So.
And he's high energy too.
Yep.
You'll notice he
got a pamphlet for you.
Thank you. Or not a brochure.
He hosted some of the conversations for Infinity, and I hosted some. And just about the time I'm going to put you to sleep, then we come up with a session that Nick hosted. And whoa, you wake up.
Nick is our digital octopus. All right. Well, on that note, thank you to Dave and Helen for joining me in the studio today, and Nick.
You have to mention that.
Don't forget. I was going to say, check out this week's issue. It's on newsstands or in your mailbox. Great story. Actually, Nick was involved with this too. He's not just an audio guy. He can work a keyboard. Really great story about Cedric, who was imprisoned for murder. I believe he was in prison for about 20 years. 22, I hear, and is now part of an arts program as part of his rehabilitation here in the city. Like Avatar 2, I won't give too much of it away. Be sure to pick it up, read it. Greta Johns Anderson was also a byline on here, so Nick and Greta teamed up to put that together.
Anderson Johns.
Greta Anderson Johns. Sorry, Greta. It's a new name.
She's great.
She recently got married, and we got to get used to it.
We shouldn't have given him a microphone over there.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. So yeah, check out the paper. If you have anything you'd like to share regarding our podcast or the issue, questions and comments, go to podcast@sixty35media.org. The show is produced by Dave Gardner and Nick Raven. Videocast is directed by Nick Raven. Music is by Jeremiah Walter. Our digital media specialist is Sean Cassidy. Art director is Dustin Glatz. Publisher is Amy Gillentine. And I'm Bryan Grossman, editor-in-chief. We'll see you next time on the 6035.
The 6035.